Welcome to Sister Wives Rewatch, Season 4, Episode 5, Infertility and Nesting.
No gloves, some crying, I don't care.
Crying from Cody.
Well, yeah. But also, Robin teared up too. So.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Because, of course.
Not a huge episode, because a huge chunk of it is explaining to us what IVF is, which we're not going to recap, because that doesn't seem...
boring.
But lots of subtle stuff. So we'll get into it right off the bat. So Mona, their real estate agent, is meeting them. They meet with a loan officer. They go to a location of a cul-de-sac where 2 of the 4 homes are almost done, and say that they can apply for financing. Gonna tell you, I honestly don't remember if this is the cul-de-sac. My memory was that they had to build their 4 houses from scratch.
I don't care.
So I don't think this is where they end up, but I honestly don't know. Because I was going to just watch it with fresh eyes and not do a bunch of cheating. So the theory is that Janelle and Christine could get the 2 finished houses moved in right away. The other 2 houses are trying to get financed. They explain how the financing would work. It would treat Cody and Mary as a couple, and then Janelle, Christine, and Robin as single wives, but with shared something or other.
Backyard?
No. Shared, like, financing. Because their money is primarily coming from TLC through their LLC, which is...
Not yet being funneled all to Robin.
Yeah. So they talk a lot about... It's funny because we're watching this while we're watching season 18. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing it 2 weeks after we film it because it goes up on the Patreon first for 2 weeks before it brings over to YouTube. So the timing's a little weird. But it's more and more stark to me how... Cody might have favored Robin from the beginning, but he used to actually love his other wives. Like,
or at least pretend to.
He was favoring Robin right off the bat, but he still did actually care about the other wives and their kids, because in this episode he's like, we've got to get into a house soon because it's really super important him and Janelle were united because they wanted to get into a home as soon as possible so that Logan could get a bedroom there, could feel at home, so that he would come back and visit. And according to Cody, possibly continue to live there while he goes to school locally. I'm guessing at this point he's already looking at... UNLV is a great school.
He's already like, I've been a dad for 18 years, I'm out.
Logan, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you meant Cody.
No.
UNLV is a great school. I looked at it for grad school. I went and met with a professor when I was briefly considering getting a PhD. There was a lady there, probably still there, doing wonderful research in the area of human motor control and learning. Basically how people acquire physical skills, which is super relevant to me when I was a full-time coach. Great university, all of that, so that he's probably already looking at that university, but it's just crazy to me because he doesn't seem to actually detest each wife other than Robin.
Or his children.
And he's not a hate monster the entire episode, and it's so startling. Like, I know a lot of people said that they felt that way last season, but for whatever reason, it didn't. Maybe because the first episode was so blatantly favoritism to Robin, it didn't seem as different. But this episode does seem a little different.
He pretends to be engaged with Mary.
Yeah.
When they learn about IVF.
But...
At least for the show.
But don't get too calm, because there's another section in here that definitely shows the flippy-floppy, Cody has someone pulling strings behind the curtain sort of thing.
Because he says he wants to flush his money down Sister Wife's toilet.
Well, first of all, just to give you a timeline for the houses, they said in 2 weeks they could get approved, and in 30 days Christine and Janelle would be moving in. Then Cody cries and says if we don't get this, they'll be heartbroken. But we've been heartbroken before, and we've overcome. It was a lot.
It was something.
It was a lot for something like not getting a house, because I think many people experience that. That is not... Now, if he had saved that energy for Mary's miscarriage, 1,000% on board. That is devastating. But, like, they might not get a house that they're gonna... The finance, and they're... Like, to me, that goes, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't get the houses they want.
Right.
You know? Like, that happens to a lot of people. Okay. So then they transfer over to this discussion of the business, which we have been just absolutely watching, because they talk about...
Fundamental fitness, right?
Something like that. Fitness, no. Fundamental fitness was what they were going to call it. Fitness fundamentalist was what he wasn't going to call it.
I don't care.
I don't care either. It was one of the two or some variation. So they're talking about the gym. Janelle, I want you to point out right now what Janelle did to prepare for this meeting. She made a business plan. She talked to a bunch of people. They looked at rental spaces. She got websites for like how much this was going to cost. She put together a full business plan for a business that they have been saying for months they were going to do. There was no question they were going to do it.
But this is what.
And all of a sudden,
but it's Cody's world. And so, you know, how can he support her idea?
So all of a sudden Cody's talking about...
it was his idea.
All of a sudden he starts talking about how it's expensive and I'm really worried, you know, if we're putting all this money into one business when we can put it into other businesses and all this. And she's like, she's clearly frustrated and she's also like, and he's like, well, you got to sell it to me. And she's like, I don't understand where this came from. This is the business we've been saying we were going to do for months.
And it was originally your idea.
And he's like, yeah, well, he said it was his idea, didn't he?
No, she did.
Oh, she did? Okay. So, but he also said it was his idea. I was originally the one. And Janelle does this whole thing about how it's been so life-changing for her. She's had better relationship with her kids because her kids used to be like, hey, can we go hiking? Can we go paintball? And I just didn't even try because I knew I couldn't keep up. And now that I'm feeling stronger, I can do these things. And I want to open a gym for other people so that people who feel intimidated by gyms, which is a very, very common feeling that many people have, you shouldn't be intimidated by it. A gym is for places for people to go and work on themselves. If someone gives you a hard time, they are absolute scum of the earth.
Or you're at Gold's Gym.
I stand by my point. I don't know anything about Gold's Gym, but if someone gives you a hard time, and it does, I have heard people happening, you should just know that most cases the gym is going to have your back. The community is definitely going to have your back. But I know that some people that feel already uncomfortable, I totally get it. But she wants to create a place where people who are not already in shape can feel comfortable going and not feeling judged. Wonderful mission statement, true passion behind it. And all of a sudden...
But it's not from the pencil box, so it gets poo-pooed.
I don't think... Was Robin even at that meeting?
No, because no.
So anyway, so Cody's...
She's in her closet, honey.
So all of a sudden...
Designing crappy jewelry.
But this is what I'm waiting to hear. Does Robin make up a business plan? Does Robin make up a list of all the costs? No. All of a sudden, Janelle does all this work and all Cody does is be like, well, this is kind of expensive.
She wets a pencil.
And he's like, well, we'll go into bankruptcy. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, maybe you should stop starting like 5 or 6 businesses at a time. So that, and then she looks pissed and she looks frustrated, which makes me mad all over again because of what we're seeing in season 18. We're just like, this woman has been loyal, has had his back. You know, she stood up for him. I know he doesn't feel that way.
But she didn't obey his COVID rules that he never gave her for 9 months.
That he made up all on his own. So anyway, C starts backing out, and I'm like, did Robin present a business plan? And he's like, it'll suck all of my money from other places. And it's like...
Kind of like what Robin did to Cody.
Talking about sucking. So then the whole rest of the episode is about Mary and Cody. And Cody does seem engaged in this... the idea of her getting pregnant, but I still just don't buy that it ever would have happened, that he would have allowed Robin to have a baby that would tie him closer to Mary when he could have a baby with Robin that he loves.
Well, it takes sex, and that's not something they were doing by now.
Well, that was a really weird. Now, I get why they didn't want to answer the doctor on camera about how often they have sex, but she's like, it's not, so they're talking to her OBGYN. And then they talk to a fertility doctor? Okay, so they're talking to doctors about it, and at some point, I think it was the fertility doctor who said, how often are you having sex? And they're like, and Mary's like, it's not the timing that's an issue, which is an odd way to say that. And then he says, yeah, I mean, I get it. You have to have sex at least once a month in order to have a baby. And of course, my first thought was, no, that's not even close to correct. You have to have sex during the ovulation window in order to have... And I'm not buying this that they are. I'm assuming that what she is saying is Well, at one point we were doing it like bunnies and it didn't make any difference. So that clearly can't be the issue, because I'm not buying that right now he is. Because here's the thing, an ovulation window is only a few days, and if he is sticking to the 1 and 4 day schedule, he probably is not hitting that window anyway.
He's probably not hitting that wife
at all. And I say this as someone, so those of you who are newer to the channel and don't know this, John and I had fertility problems. We had an extremely traumatic miscarriage. I mean, many, many miscarriages are traumatic, but ours medically was very complicated. And of course, we had been trying for 6 years, so it was incredibly traumatic.
Done with that miscarriage took like, what, 10 months?
Yeah, it was, I had some undiagnosed stuff that we didn't know about, and it was very, very complicated. And during that time, my uncle and your father, your stepfather, who was your father, incredibly close to, both died of cancer in that time period. Yeah. So it was an incredibly difficult period of time. And it's when we did the initial... No, it wasn't. It was right after that. Literally like a month or two after that is when we started this channel.
Okay.
I'm still, in that first video, I'm still kind of puffy.
Fun stuff.
Anyway, my point is, and then we did have our son 2 years later, and then we had another miscarriage a few years ago that was incredibly difficult. So, I'm not saying I'm a fertility expert, but I learned a lot during that time about fertility. We never considered IVF, but I'm super happy that it's available, as technology is available for other people. It just, we knew it wasn't for us. I actually started the channel in part because I was like, well, I'm clearly not going to be a mom. I need to figure out what passions I'm going to do that I'm really excited about. And that's when I started writing books, because I love reading. And I was like, well, if I can't be a mom, I'm going to pursue some really big things that take a lot of hard work. So these are examples of my books. You can go to any of your favorite retailers and type in Nikki Haverstock, and I have ebooks everywhere. I have paperbacks most places. You can also request them through your library. And we have audiobooks, but not all of them are audiobooks yet, because I narrate them myself. So if you want to hear more of my voice, that is always an option. And then we got pregnant 2 years later. Hallelujah. We're so thankful. We have a wonderful child that we think is the best thing on earth and all of that. So Mary's story is always really hard for me, because I feel so deeply for her and how difficult that might have been. She tells us the background story, which I believe many people know, which is that she had her one child and she thought, oh good, now that I've had the child, the infertility would be over. And she had, I think they call it unexplained secondary infertility, which is like you had a child, but now you have problems. But I think she had problems in the beginning too. It took if you're actively trying not to get pregnant, if you're actively trying to get pregnant, and spend more than a year, they consider that to be infertility. Now, what that means beyond that, sometimes it's as easy as like a pill or a fertility ovulation test, and sometimes it's incredibly complicated. And so they had that. She thought it was going to be fine. It was not fine. When her child was about 12, she had accepted she wasn't going to have another child, which is kind of where we were at, where you just kind of say, you know what, I'm blessed to have one child. Many people have one child and are happy with it. I'm thankful for what I have. And I'm at peace with the fact that that's just how our future is going to be. And when her child was 12, she got pregnant again, went in for a 10-week appointment to hear the heartbeat, and there was no heartbeat. And that is what happened with us once. The other time there was a heartbeat, and there was not the next week. And that was also horrible. So she talks about that. She says that she would like another child, but she's a little bit unsure about it. They go in, they hear the whole IVF thing, which if you don't know what IVF is, it's where they collect the eggs, they fertilize them outside the body, and they put them back into the uterus, your own or into a surrogate's. But you can go watch a Google video on it. I don't need to explain it. And they walk away and they basically say, I'm not really sure. I don't know that I really buy that Mary is 100% into this, or if she's just being a little closed off. I can tell you, as someone who's gone through infertility, sometimes you're at peace with an answer, and the idea of reconsidering it and going back through that journey can feel a little bit like ripping a wound open again, where you go, you know, because we at some point decided we were no longer going to try because it was so devastating to keep losing babies.
Yes.
A great deal of respect. I have lots of friends who did not make that decision and kept trying and had multiple miscarriages. And I support you in that decision. This is not a judgment place. It was just the right decision for us, where we just said that that's how we wanted to proceed. And I feel at peace with it most of the time. Occasionally there's time for you wonder, but... And then Cody does his little thing, which is, he's like, my opinion is you'll regret the things you don't do, so we should just do everything. And I'm like, oh, is that why you moved to Flagstaff? Is that why you abandoned all your wives? Is that why you spent all your money on a big fancy house for your one favored wife? Okay, so I got a little off track in my brain. Because I'm so resentful to this man right now. We watched a whole season of Christine leaving, which was brutal and awful and terrible. And now he's doing it again with Janelle, and you kind of go, man, he can be awful in so many different ways.
That didn't take a whole season. That took, what was it, 2 episodes?
This is not over. This is going to be episodes and episodes and episodes and episodes of him talking about how wrong she is, how no one respects her, how she's destroying the family, how she's keeping his kids away from him.
The kids he calls all the time, right?
Yeah, the ones that he calls all the time and talks to. Yeah, someone made that. Oh, I won't get into it. I won't do it here. I'll do it next week on our up-to-date video, so people who we watch these later aren't like, what are you talking about? Season 18. So that's the episode. Yeah, there you go. So we will see you later. Thank you for joining us. Bye.